Hi, everybody. Today we want to talk about Kay's new book that we just released, The Weavings, Dawn of a New World. And I got a copy. You can find it on Amazon. And the question I have for Kay today is why do you think the spirits gave you these teachings at this time and wanted you to share them with the world?
Well, they were very clear about that. As my teachers, Jamana and Chia Hedeka, used to always say, the world is in really, really serious trouble. It's collapsing. We're at the end of an era, or as a lot of Native people would call it, the end of the world, a world. Not like, death for all in the planet and everything. It's not that kind of a thing. It's the end of a whole age of time of human life, and the culture's collapsing in on itself. So they said that our culture and this modern culture they call it's an unfortunate title, but they called us the Walking Dead, and that's just really, really descriptive of how people are. They are operational to some extent. They're walking around and their eyes seem to be open. They seem to look at you and carry on conversations, but their consciousness is so dampened down. The senses are so dampened down. All the physical senses, the emotions, their mind, all the spirit senses, all the spirit gifts, everything really dampened down to the point that we are kind of in a fog, numb, like we're dead, but we just don't even know it yet. And so that's the phrase that they described us with. And we desperately need this information that we lost. This humanity, most of humanity has lost this ancient information, this way of living, a whole different way of thinking and feeling and approaching things, a whole different kind of a perspective and an attitude, and it's an expanded consciousness, expanded awareness that we used to have, and there are some Native peoples here and there hiding away, still have it. But this is what they think it was their tribal feeling, fit with their tribal predictions of the end times, that we need this information, and they can't hide it and hoard it anymore. All these different little groups of people that were keeping it intact all these years, that was bravo, brilliant, and they went to great lengths to do it. And now it's time to share it with the world, because we do have just enough attention and just enough awareness and curiosity to be able to listen and utilize it and change ourselves. We have to heal this damage that we've been causing ourselves for thousands and thousands of years. And this isn't the first world to come to an end, and it isn't the first world to come to an end with this kind of walking dead calamity on their population. The others just never got far enough with their own conscious awareness to change, and they ended up destroying themselves because of it. Some with war, and from the legends, like the Hindu legends that's in their books, their ancient stories of flying Vahamas, the flying machines, and the gods with the energy weapons, the lightning strikes and the hammers and all that kind of stuff. They had horrible, unthinkable wars that caused huge destruction of land, animals, plants, and most of the people. But always there were some people that managed to live through it. Like this Noah's Ark story, that kind of thing. There's stories like that all over the planet from all kinds of different cultures. And so this is the Hedicas from Peru. This is their tradition, that this is the time the information has to come out. And the pre-flood Egyptians had the same kind of story about the end of the world, and this is the time the information has to come out. It has been hidden so tightly through so many centuries and millennia at the threat of death, and kept exactly the same as much as they could, generation to generation, passed down mostly word to mouth. I mean, mouth to ear. Mouth to ear, that's better. And some people finally put it in writing. But everybody, all these ancient traditions, they talk about sharing what knowledge they have now, quick, because we really, really, really need it. And so I guess I wasn't listening loud enough to the spirits. and then, that happens. You get caught up in life, not paying attention. So they sent me a little red spider to visit me in my shower. And of course I didn't want to hurt the spider. I turned the water down.
Before we get into the red spider story, which we can tell.
I wasn't going to go to the whole thing. Go on.
No, go ahead then.
I was just going to say, he told me, it's a long story, but he told me, get your butt up. Go do a vision quest, a big long Hedica's vision quest. And the spirits have lots of things to share with you, and bring all your sacred objects and put them out on a big blanket that covered the whole room, on the floor. I hardly had room to walk around the outer edge, and they were all out. And this is a vision quest that you do for a few weeks or more at a time. And you eat and you drink, but mildly, modestly. And you spend your time with the altar, with the spirits, journeying. And boy, did they have a story for me. A big one. And it's in the book. That's how the book starts out. I mean, the first pages are kind of, they're important, but they're kind of basic to the understanding of these ancient teachings. And then it goes right into the red spider story.
We should touch on a red spider story, talk about the red spider story and the vision quest, I think more on another talk. But we want to keep these shorter. So I have another question that can go into great depth, but real quick before we end this talk, what are the essential teachings or the essential information they wanted you to share? And I know the book, you worked on it for 15 years, and the book has like 300 pages, so, but if
You
you
gotta
could
condense it.
condense it, yes, that's the word.
Squish it into a few words.
And of course, we're going to go on future talks, we're going to go into more detail, but
Yeah.
just a quick overview.
A quick overview. We've been the Walking Dead. We've been living in this incredible fog. From the time that we're born, we're programmed. We've been programmed, and we've done this for thousands of years. And there's cultures that have kept the old ways and cultures that went this new way, with brainwashing people, telling them all kinds of different lies about who they are, what they are, who and what everything else is, everybody, the whole world, how the world works, how physics works, how we work, how consciousness works. We've learned lies. Most of what we think of as truth, it's real, we've heard it all our lives, it's in all the textbooks, blah, blah, blah. Everybody spouts it. It's just not accurate, and most of it is just outright lies. It's not true. The history we've been told about the civilizations that came before us, not true. So this is about a way of thinking and looking at things and perceiving. What we learn in the modern world is to just think in words, in sentences, very linearly, very flat, very one-dimensional, and babble, 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 babble all the time. Babble, 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 babble. And argue, back and forth in our own heads. And that's in your whole body. You're doing that constant irritation and making of body chemicals that don't belong in your body all the time. And like cortisol, you don't need a whole ton of cortisol all day, all night. And you'll go nuts and very sick and die at a young age if you do. And we see it happen to people all the time. Yet that's how we live. Babble, babble, get that cortisol pumped up and all these other body chemicals that just make a mess out of our brain and how to try to think and how to operate our body or to coordinate our body. Our culture, the people in our culture are a mess. They are a mess. And these old teachings teach how to get out of it, how to end it. And we have to want it. We have to really look at it honestly and look at ourselves honestly. Most of what this babble is about is fear and anger, sometimes hatred. It's about war. It's about things being at a vicious contest all the time. Survival of the fittest. And it's about a hierarchical structure. Everything in the modern culture is a hierarchical structure. It's a ladder going up. And up at the top are the best, best, best. This is where everybody is supposed to aim themselves to be, try to be. And so we're always trying to climb up the ladder and get better and better. The people down, underneath are less than. They're lower. They're not as good, not as smart, not as able. And so we keep just climbing up that ladder, and we get vicious about it. And we just tear people off above us, toss them down, crawl up, get their space. It's all pretend living. It's a pretend lie. It's a lie, lying way of thinking and living and being, and it's torturous to the people who think that way, and it's torturous to the people outside you, whether or not they are thinking that way. It creates, with all of our thoughts and our feelings, our emotions, we're creating thought form energies. These thought form energies are going out. They touch everybody and everything. It's all very connected, and they fill the space. They fill the stuff. You know, the furniture and the houses, and we live in so much of this thought form. It's like an ocean that goes up to the ionosphere and goes down into the ground. Who knows how deep? And it's filling out everything. And we share these thought forms. They move, and they have their own kind of a life and thinking and consciousness. Very, very low activity. They do exactly what we instruct them to do when we make them. And we don't know that we're doing this, but
So
this
they
is part of
keep
the
us-
teachings.
So they keep us in this way of living.
Very much so.
Watch with your microphone, honey. You
Yeah, I know it was,
whack it.
I whacked it.
Okay. And are you saying a big part of information is how to free ourselves from all that
Absolutely.
and change it?
From the babble, from the thought forms. And what they say is step out of it. Step out of the old thought forms. Step out of the babble that just goes on and on and on forever. You can't go to war against it because you're feeding it when you go to war against it, and you lose. You lose every time.
So, and that, I guess, would you say that's a big takeaway from reading the book for people? And what
Yeah.
what the spirits want you to take, for people to take home with them?
How to get out of that prison, that torture chamber. Everybody
to-
knows that there's something not quite right,
And
and
how
they
to
don't
build
feel
a
quite
different
right.
life.
Yeah, how to build a different life.
I'm
How to get away from that.
trying to close us out because
Uh,
we're getting to the upper limit of our
Okay.
time we set ourselves, and we're gonna do more of those. But thank you for that. That was beautiful. Okay, thanks for listening to this. Like, subscribe, share if you feel inspired. And the book again is The Weavings, Dawn of a New World. Kay is the author of The Reluctant Shaman and Sacred Link, and you can get it on Amazon. And katase.com is our website, KATASEE.com. Thanks. Love you. Until next time.
Bye-bye. Love
Bye-bye.
you all. Bye-bye.